Hello and welcome to CIPD Bitesize. In this video, we are going to attack 5HR02 question AC2.3, which is evaluate the strengths and weaknesses of different methods of recruitment and selection to build effective workforces. Now, you might be looking at this question going, well, hold on a second. My question is about 6 paragraphs long. And that's because you'll be reading the question. Currently, vacancies are advertised on Parcelcare's website. Line managers then interview shortlisted applicants. You feel these are suitable recruitment and selection methods to use, but want to broaden the methods used. Evaluate the strengths and weaknesses of 2 different recruitment methods and 2 different selection methods. AC2.2. So in the CIPD one, you're seeing that they've been specific to 2. Whereas when we get the marking criteria, you see that it just says evaluate the strengths and weaknesses of different different methods of recruitment and selection to build effective workforces. I've mentioned this on many videos before, but the first thing we always do is we break down the question. So when we break down this question, evaluate the strengths, plural, weaknesses, plural, of different recruitment methods, plural. That is the sneaky S. CIPD love a sneaky S. So when you're reading 2 different recruitment methods, 2 different selection methods, this is where it comes from. You're evaluating the strengths and weaknesses of different recruitment methods. Strengths, plural, weaknesses, plural, methods, plural. So it's... and selection to build effective workforces. The cheeky S is in full effect here, and it's a big question. This is one of those questions where when you've got 390 words per question, because it's 3,900 words for the entire assessment, which is 390 words per question. If there is a question where you need to allocate some more words, this is the badger right here. This is the one where you're probably going to need to allocate a few more words to it, because when we break the question down into its action points, you'll see there's 8 action points here. Now at 390 words, that's 50 words per action point, and that's not really attainable. So this is where you might save some on some of the basic explain ones where you've got 2 action points. You might shoot for 100 words for each of them and save some, or you might allocate some of your overflow to this, because this is a chunky question. This is one where you've got a lot to do. So again, as you'll see, 2 different recruitment methods, 2 different selection methods. Strengths and weaknesses of different methods of recruitment and selection. So, strength of recruitment method 1 in building a workforce. Another strength of recruitment method 1 in building a workforce. A weakness in recruitment method 1 in building a workforce. Another weakness in recruitment method 1 for building a workforce. A strength of recruitment method 2 in building a workforce. Another strength of recruitment method 2. A weakness in recruitment method 2. Another weakness in recruitment method 2. That is strengths and weaknesses. And remember that recruitment method has to include selection. 2 different recruitment methods, 2 different selection methods. So you can combine recruitment and selection together. So, recruitment and selection a lot of the time are combined together, but it's a really, really chunky question, this one. You've got a lot to do, and you're probably reading the AC guide in the scenario, and you're reading this. To evaluate the strengths and weaknesses, different recruitment methods and selection to build effective workforces. That is what markers get given. That is what moderators get given. That is what CIPD will grade you on. So break it down into these 8 action points. As always, top left of the column, AC 2.3. That's what they want to see on your answer sheet. AC 2.3, written in big capital letters. Well, it doesn't need to be big, but like a heading. And then subheading, recruitment and selection method 1 in building workforces. Recruitment and selection method. Strength, weaknesses. This is where it gets chunky, this one as well. You're going to need a reference and a citation per action point, because you're proving it. You're having to prove, because the evaluate is to judge or calculate the quality, the importance, the amount or value of something. You can't evaluate something unless you've got some evidence for it. So again, you're going to have to really build out this answer. You're really going to have to chuck some words at it. If you're coming at this question from referring on it and you're really limited on word count, I really would suggest speaking to your centre about what you do on word count, because I think you're probably going to need at a minimum about 500 words to get through this, and you probably push it up to 600 at the absolute ideal, which is nearly double per thing, because you're looking around about 60 to 70 words per action point. So again, just think about how you'd approach this question. Strengths, another strength; weakness, another weakness; strength, weakness, weakness. And remember the cheeky S's: strengths, weaknesses. So again, you might do strength of recruitment method 1 from a recruitment perspective, strength of recruitment method 2 from recruitment method 1 from a selection perspective, because that's how you build it out. So strength, recruitment, strength, selection, strength, recruitment, strength, selection. Do it that way. Just build it out section by section, stuff like that. Now, you're going to need some resources for this, and as always, we give you 3 recommended selections, and I think it's almost becoming a catchphrase, which is CIPD love CIPD. So CIPD want you to use CIPD resources. So CIPD Affair Selection and Evidence Review 2023. If you're evaluating something, an evidence review is going to be absolutely critical to being able to prove it. And that's what you need to do when you're evaluating something, because you're doing the quality of something. So CIPD's Affair Selection Evidence Review 2023. Remember, this video is being recorded in 2024. So when we move to 2025, there'll probably be Fair Selection and Evidence Review 2024. We'll update it in the VLE if you're one of our learners. If you're watching this as sort of like a video or as bite-sized or something that's been made available, search for 2024 if you're in 2025. Always search for the year behind who you are, because CIPD want you to use things that ideally no older than 2 years old. Then there's the CIPD fact sheet, which is a recruitment process. Really good for, evaluating the strengths and weaknesses, different recruitment and selection methods. And then there's the CIPD fact sheet for selection methods. This will give you everything you need to really sort of build out that answer and plan it out. This question is absolutely critical that you plan out your answer before you start writing, because you could just end up writing and burn through 1,000 words like that. And so this really needs an action plan in terms of, what am I going to evaluate? Strengths, weaknesses, 2, what is it? How am I going to do it? And break down the question into your actions. And that way you'll actually be able to approach it in a more efficient way. What is my word count per action point? What are my subheadings? What am I doing? Build out this answer, because this is going to be the one that you're going to be like, oh my God, I don't have enough words. And prove it. Evidence-based, statistical-based evaluation, that's the quality that they're looking for. Obviously, if you use these resources that we're highlighting here, they will have a lot of data, evidence and backing behind them and research behind them. That is what you need. Now, I get this, like, I'm making this sound like this is a really scary question, and it is a bit of a scary question, but as always, we give you a bit of a analogy, a bit of a story to sort of help you understand and contextualize the question a little bit more, just so that you can sort of come at the question from a different angle and just sort of hear a bit of a story that's connected to it. So in this particular one, we are a race car team owner. Yeah, things aren't going well. So imagine we're building a race car team, and to win, we need the best drivers and crew for each role. So here's how different sort of recruitment methods would be, like finding a pit crew. So job boards posting, by putting up a flyer in a gas station, we might get a lot of applicants, random people just walking by, but will they be skilled? Will they be experienced enough to handle high pressure pit stops, changing tires in record time, and setting new sort of standard that you want to be that sort of race car team? The other way you might go is employee referral. That's like asking your best driver who knows like what it takes to win in your race car team for recommendations, and they'll suggest people that they trust and can handle the job. Other skilled drivers or mechanics they've raced with, people that they've worked with in the past. So again, referrals and the strengths and weaknesses of those. You might do a skills competition, like holding a tryout where people can showcase their pit stop skills and assess their ability, how fast they can change a tire. But you might miss out on other qualities like teamwork and working under pressure. But that's like having an open day and bringing people in and just sort of seeing how people interact and having a whole range of people and skills and experience. And then you've got things like background checks and references, DBS. It's like reviewing the driver's race history and talking to their past team to ensure that their experience, the past race wins and good reputation are right, and you haven't just been, brought in by a wonderful interview process and stuff like that. And we can talk about the pros and cons of references at a different time. This is something where I'm not sure references really are that useful anymore. But from a recruitment perspective, especially, but from a background check perspective, if you need DBSs or if you need healthcare certificates and stuff like that, it really is quite a useful thing. But each method has its pros and cons. Not everything gives you everything. Just like finding the perfect pit crew in this race team, you need to combine different approaches and build a well-rounded, effective team workforce so that you can achieve race wins or business goals. So think about it from that perspective. How do you go about ensuring that the best recruitment method, like you're not just using one recruitment method because you're potentially missing out on the best candidate? How do you go around building the whole holistic approach to ensure that you get the absolute best out of it and get the best candidate? And that's really what you need to think about when answering this question. Absolutely best of luck. I know this is a junky one, but I'm sure you'll absolutely smash it. Good luck. I'm sure you'll absolutely smash it. Take care.